I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. I have been a practicing witch since I was in my teens. I'm now in my 40s. I'll let you do that maths because it's a bit beyond me. And today I'm going to talk to you about my top 5 witchy don'ts. The last one is probably the most important, so make sure you stick around until the end. And if you do, I might even give you a little bonus tip as well. So one of the ugliest aspects, and it's the one that I'll get out the way with first, is the online space. Now, the internet has been brilliant for new practitioners and elder witches alike. We can look up anything in seconds. In the olden days, when I was a child and we were learning all about these things, you would find out about a book on the grapevine through somebody else and you'd order it in the library and it would take ages to come in. And then when it did come in, you'd get halfway through it and realise this isn't really resonating with me, or this is one lot of nonsense, or this completely contradicts something that I've read elsewhere. And it took a long while to find your information. And actually the most reliable way of finding your information was to get somebody to teach you. Now that we've got the internet, it's brilliant. We've got all these things at our fingertips. I can just Google what god's responsible for this, what colour is corresponding with this, what are the planets doing right now, and have all this information, and it's brilliant. But we have to be really, really careful to be discerning about that information and where the source of that information is coming from. Unfortunately, over the last few years, and this is something that happens throughout history, you know, the Nazis did it as well, but we have had a recent influx of white supremacists within the community co-opting our symbols, co-opting our language, and dog whistling people into their sort of views by using witchcraft, tarot, spirituality, wrapping it all up in historic language that makes it seem like they're doing something that they're really, really not. So when you are going through your witchcraft sources, it's really important to use your discernment. It's really important to do your research and get your research from lots and lots of different sources, and it has never been easier to do that. But whenever you are looking up something, there are a few red flags to look for in your source. Things like if people talk about blood magic a lot, if they talk about your ancestors a lot. Those are things, and so it can be difficult to discern what the information is trying to get across to you. But although they are things, if they're overused, that can be a big red flag. See, also things like claiming the aliens built the pyramids, or talking about the Illuminati, lizard people, star seeds. All of those are dog whistle terms that are used to draw you in because you're into the spirituality side of things, and then slowly convert you to a completely different set of morals that you were not looking for in the first place. So, step 1, my first big don't, is don't skimp on your research. Don't read something from one source and decide that that means that that is correct. Make sure that you are using discernment with who those sources are and that you're really researching thoroughly. Researching is the main deal of being a witch. If you are not somebody that likes to look up and get into the detail and get into the history of things and see how things work together, do experiments, think about it some more, maybe paganism and witchcraft isn't really for you. Witchcraft is at its heart all about learning. If you're not prepared to put in that research time to make sure that the sources that you're using are not harmful and are accurate, then maybe you're not quite ready for the witchcraft yet, and you should take a step back and continue on your shadow work instead. Now, while we're on the subject of talking about things like blood magic and ancestor worship and things that could be dog whistles, it would be remiss of me not to mention that there are also religious practices that are very much closed to newcomers. And it is really important that you're not stepping into those spaces uninvited and stepping all over people's worship, basically. So things like voodoo or hoodoo, those are closed practices. You can't just grab a book on it and just start doing stuff. You need to be invited in, and to be honest, as a white person, you are unlikely to be invited into that space, and that is okay. Not every space is for every person. Although you can take elements of the practitioning that they use, it's probably less effective than just finding a non-closed practice where you can get people that will be willing to answer your questions, where you will be welcomed into that space. A great many witchcraft practices, pagan practices, are very open and anyone can join in. You don't have to be Greek to worship the Greek gods, for example. But with things like voodoo, vodun, hoodoo, Those sorts of things are closed practices, and you should only really get involved in those sorts of things if you have been specifically invited in. If somebody tells you that this practice isn't for you, listen to them about that. And that does include using things like white sage for smudging. It's a Native American practice. Smudging itself, using smoke to cleanse, is not, but doing it in a specific way with a shell and a feather and white sage, that very much is part of a closed practice. And it's closed for good reason. It's not just because people don't like you. Using white sage is a big no-no because white sage is endangered. If you want to smoke cleanse your home with herbs, either grow those herbs yourself or use ones that are not endangered. There are so many different types of herbs that you can use to smoke cleanse your house. It does not have to be sage. It definitely does not have to be white sage. Witches tend to be more in tune with nature. We want to be gentle on the earth. We want to be custodians of our planet. And so using endangered herbs to swoosh around your house because you think that that is the best way to do it, it's not okay. My tip number 2, don't be disrespectful. If somebody tells you that a practice is closed, they're telling you that for a reason. If somebody tells you not to use a particular herb for a particular purpose, they're generally telling you that for a reason. Be respectful of the other practitioners around you, and don't be disrespecting other people's faiths by inserting yourself in there. One of the most common questions that I get asked as a witch is, can you break a curse that's on me? I've had hundreds of people over the years ask me to break a curse on them, and not a single one of them had a curse on them. If you're scrolling through your social media and somebody says, stop, someone's put a curse on you, and if you don't like and share and hit the bell and all these things, then terrible things are going to happen to you. But if you comment with, I accept in the comments, then I'm going to lift your curse. Rubbish. It's all rubbish. Nobody's put a curse on you. Nobody can tell from a YouTube video that you've got a curse on you either. It's very rare that somebody would care enough about something that you have done to curse you, and the people that are angry enough to curse you probably do not have the knowledge to curse you, and the people that have the knowledge to curse you probably know that it's not really worth cursing you. It's like I said to my friend when they were worried about wearing a particularly flamboyant dress when they're out in public. No one's paying any attention. They're too busy on their phones. And the same is true of curses. It may be true that somebody is sitting in their house stewing on how much they hate you. And sure, that might send a little bit of negative energy your way, but not nearly as much negative energy as it's going to be giving that person that's sitting there stewing on you. When we're sitting there hating somebody, we're really only hurting ourselves there. It's probably not going to do you any harm. It's very likely that if you've had a run of bad luck, you are just having a run of bad luck. Sometimes a magpie is a sign from spirit, but sometimes it's just a bird. And a lot of the times when we're having a lot of bad luck and we think, oh God, I'm cursed, you're not cursed. You live on planet Earth as a human being, and that means that at some point you will suffer. As a human being living on planet Earth, not every time is going to be happy times. We are here to learn, we are here to grow, and people can't learn without a certain degree of suffering. We can't grow as people without challenges to face and overcome in order to get that growth. The Earth is teaching space, and so of course you're going to suffer somewhat here. We're here to try and alleviate that as much as possible, but we're never going to be able to eliminate that entirely. It's part of the human condition. It's part of why we are here. So yeah, if you feel like you're cursed, you're probably not. But if you are, going and paying somebody online to break a curse for you isn't going to make any difference whatsoever. If somebody is cursing you, nobody online is going to be able to fix that. They don't know you. All their intention is when they're doing the spell is make money off this spell. They are not intending to break your curse. They don't even know if you've got a curse. Absolutely the best thing that you can do if you feel like you're cursed is to do a transmuting spell so that any negative energy directed at you becomes something else, prosperity or love or health or something like that. Hate on me all you want. My wards will change that into prosperity for me. That's fine. But know that it's highly unlikely that you've been cursed. And probably if things keep going wrong, you either need to change your approach on something, take some personal responsibility for that, or you're just having some bad luck. People have bad luck sometimes. We're all just humans. So Number 3, don't worry too much about curses. They're very, very rare anyway. The people that do try and put curses on people normally aren't very good at cursing. Those that are good at cursing are unlikely to waste their time cursing you because you cut them off at a roundabout or something. And so if you're really, really worried about curses, use a transmutation spell. Do it yourself. Don't go paying people to break curses on you. Don't go sitting there thinking, oh God, I'm cursed every time you stub your toe. Sometimes bad luck is just bad luck. Now, I actually think witch talk and the Instagram reels that you see all the time and all that sort of thing are a brilliant thing because they are bringing spell work to a huge new audience, and that would be great as long as that huge new audience goes back to my step 1 there and make sure they don't skimp on their research. However, I do see one lot of nonsense on there, I really do, and it is mostly caused by people seeing something, copying that exactly with no understanding of why the person has done the particular elements to that spell. And then they disseminate that information and we end up with these huge Chinese whispers like you've got to blow cinnamon into your front door on the 1st of the month every month. That's nonsense. It's just nonsense. Think about it for a second. In the ancient times, like when people were doing magic with no money, no equipment, nothing, do you really think that they could afford to be throwing cinnamon around in their house? Somebody has said that on the internet and then people have picked up on it and now everybody's doing it. And maybe it is gaining some power because everybody's doing it. But at the end of the day, all you're doing is throwing spices around. Especially if you are blowing cinnamon into your house with no intention of what that means, what it's for, then you're just throwing spices around. For a ritual like that to work, it has to have real intention behind it. You have to know why you're choosing cinnamon. You have to know why you're blowing in, not out. You have to know why the 1st of the month. And why is it the 1st of the month? Because the calendar is very new in comparison to human history. Why would the 1st of the month have any significance apart from what you put on it? It's nonsense. I see the same with people making money bowls. They get these money bowls and they pour loads of stuff in it. And, great. But there is absolutely no way that ancient witches would have been able to afford to waste that much edible food. I also see people pouring tons and tons of salt into money bowls, and that makes absolutely no sense to me because maybe they're adding it for purification or protection, but that much salt, if you went and poured it on the ground, that would kill anything that grows. If you want your money to grow, why are you adding something that kills growth? It doesn't make any sense. It's really important that instead of just blindly following these like their recipes on the Good Food website, we have to know why we're adding each ingredient. We have to have that intention there. We have to mean it. And so just chucking stuff into a bowl with no thought or care, all you've got there is a bowl of stuff. Each item has to be added intentionally. It has to mean something. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you should go then and Google what does this ingredient mean magically and then use that ingredient, or magical herbs for prosperity and then just add those, because if it doesn't mean that to you, then it doesn't mean that in your practice. For example, we'll go back to cinnamon. One of my friends absolutely loathes and detests cinnamon. There is no way that she would find the scent of that to mean luck and prosperity and good things. So if she were to be using it in a magical practice, she'd probably be better off using cinnamon to repel things because it repels her. That's what it means to her. What matters is your intention. It's not the only thing that matters, but it's the base. And if you're just chucking stuff into a jar or a bowl and shaking it every now and then and following the instructions because witchy woo-woo told you to, you have no understanding of what you're doing. You might as well be singing a nursery rhyme or baking a cake. You have no understanding of what you're doing. What you've done there is the equivalent of sending your twin to do your driving lessons and then go and sitting the driving test yourself. Sure, you might luck your way through it, but it would have been a lot easier if you had been the one doing the lessons, right? And the same thing goes for things like sigils. I see sigils for sale online all the time, or people saying, draw this symbol on your money and it will come back to you. No, it won't. You're just scribbling. A sigil works because you have worked out how to make it and you've poured your energy and your time and your thought and your care and your intention into that symbol. buying one from somebody else isn't going to do anything for you, because when that person was making that symbol, what they were thinking about was, I'm going to make money off this symbol. They're not thinking about the purpose of the sigil, the reason why you bought it. They're just thinking, this is bringing me prosperity. And it's working really, really well as a prosperity sigil for them, but it's not really working as a, say, good health symbol for you. What would work much better is if you pour your time, attention, and energy into making that. And I have actually got a video on making sigils if you're interested in checking that out. So tip number 4, don't just follow it like it's a recipe. Research why people are using those particular ingredients, and if they don't resonate for you personally, don't bother using them. If different ingredients resonate for you better, use those. Research other people's spells by all means to get ideas for making your own, because that is going to be what is going to give you your power. Last one then, and I have spoken about this before on my safety tips for baby witches, but I just can't stress it enough. There are so many aspects of our craft that can cause you to burn your house down or hurt yourself in some way, and we don't want that to happen to you. So don't leave candles unattended, and probably don't put them as close to your hair as I am here. And don't leave your crystal ball on your windowsill or your jar of moon water on your windowsill, because that's going to concentrate sunlight through basically a magnifying glass, cause a hot spot in your home and burn the place down. It's another reason why I use birthday cake candles instead of your traditional spell candles, because your traditional spell candles take an hour and a half to burn down, and nobody got time to sit there for that long. Birthday cake candle takes about half an hour to burn down. All the time in the world for that. When you see witchy videos on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and I'm very guilty of it here myself, like, you probably clicked on this video because you saw that I got a candle here, you maybe saw Hecate here, you saw I've got my witchy nails and my witchy jewelry and my witchy outfit and all my plants behind me, and it's all looking very witchy, right? And I've done that on purpose. I've done that so that you will see that thumbnail and you'll go, oh, witchy video, and you'll click on that if you like witchy videos. And that helps me find the audience that's interested in my stuff. It helps you find the stuff that you're interested in. And because of that, when we're doing example spell work online, we do tend to make it more aesthetically witchy than it needs to be. The vast majority of my magic involves a pen and a paper, maybe my finger, sometimes some water. But most of the time online, what you see is people doing quite elaborate things with lots and lots of equipment. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff, right? Because, like I said earlier, in the ancient times, they did not have the money or the resources to be saying, oh, I must get a yellow candle and some gold ribbon and some cinnamon and some star anise and a butt ton of salt, otherwise my spell isn't going to work. Of course not. They wouldn't have done. They could scry on a puddle because that's what was available. And so when we see these videos where somebody gets a candle, right, and they pour enough oil on it to make America want to invade, and then they're yamming on all of these herbs so it looks like a crust on a roast that you're about to have for your dinner, that is creating a massive fire hazard. And the only reason that they are doing it is so that you will watch the video, so that you'll see it in the thumbnail and you'll go, oh, witchy, and you'll click on that. That's fine. That's not wrong in itself, as long as they're being very careful with that. But it gives the idea to you that you need to have tons of oil and dried herbs on something that you are about to set fire to and then leave in your house. That is not wise. That is not wise. If you're going to use herbal remedies, you need to make sure that you have thoroughly researched how that will interact with any hormonal contraception you're on, how that's going to interact with any other kind of medication that you're on, how it's going to interact with other herbs that you might be taking. Are there any contraindications for you taking it if you're pregnant or breastfeeding? And you need to check that for every single person that you make a herbal remedy for as well, by the way. Lots of herbal remedies can stop your medications from working. Lots of herbal remedies can stop your contraception from working. It is really, really important that you thoroughly do your research before you ingest anything. And it's the same when it comes to candles and oils. Some oils are perfectly fine to be warmed, but if you were to melt them in a candle, they become highly, highly toxic. Some oils are great for smelling, but would create a massive reaction on your skin if you were to anoint your skin with it. So we're coming back again to the first one, really, with the don't skimp on your research, but it's really, really important, because my step number 5, my don't number 5 is don't bloody kill yourself with this. Don't burn your house down. Don't accidentally poison yourself. be safe in your practice. Because as well, a lot of us, when we are, especially in October, we're lighting a lot of fires in October. We light a lot of fires in the dark half of the year. We light a lot of candles in the dark half of the year. We're trying to tell the sun to get up over that horizon and do a full day's work for a change. And also, if we're in our aesthetically witchy phase, which a lot of us are when we first start out, I don't normally look aesthetically witchy unless I'm doing a witchy video yet, but a lot of us, when we first start out, it pleases our inner child to have things like this and crystals and dress all witchy. But the thing is, if you've got really flowy sleeves and flowy hair, and then maybe you've put essential oils on yourself, maybe a little aura spray, and then you go and light a candle, you're going to go up like a Roman candle, and that is not a good thing. With the fire safety as well, many witches, we have lots and lots of books because we're researchers, that's what we do. And if we also have a crystal ball on our window that is concentrating a hotspot onto those books, that becomes a very dangerous situation. So check that your smoke alarms are working. Really check your herbal remedies. And for goodness sake, do not think that magic and spell work can replace actual medical care. The two things are not in opposition to each other. Most medical care started off as witchcraft that we have standardized. Midwifery started as witchcraft that we've standardized. The two things are not in opposition with each other. You can absolutely complement your medical treatment with magical stuff like herbs, like intentions, like sigils, but you should always make sure that the herbs will not interact with your medication, and you should always see an actual doctor first. Don't just think that you can heal yourself of anything because you're a witch now. That isn't how it works. Smart witches use all of the resources available to them. That includes modern medicine. Thank you very much for sticking around to the end. I appreciate you so much. It really does help my videos to get seen more. And so because you stuck around, I'll give you one extra little don't tip, right? Don't just blindly believe everybody that you see on the internet, and that includes me. If I've said something that doesn't resonate with you and it doesn't work for you, then it's not meant to be part of your practice. And that's fine. That's okay. There are so many different aspects and facets to witchcraft. Witchcraft in itself is an umbrella term that encompasses loads of different types of people who all have wildly different moral frameworks, who all have wildly different ways of practicing. The journey is yours to do what you want to do with it. And there is no better teacher than your gut. If you just want to instinctively throw stuff together because that's what it means to you, that will work better for you than blindly following advice from anyone else. You've already got the power, you've just got to let it out. Join me on Monday for my next vlog. Not sure what I'm talking about yet. Don't think it's going to be a witchy one. I'm pretty sure I'm going to take you on a day out, but I don't want to tell you too much about that just yet because I'm saving it for next week. But if you can't wait until then to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts. I take a great big deep breath. I tell you something that I'm grateful for. You tell me something that you're grateful for. You just have a little think about it if you're a bit shy. And together we have a much better day. I'm also here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card read for you. They're not very personal, they're very general. And so if you want an actual reading where I do make an effort to connect to you specifically, I offer personal readings on my Ko-fi. They won't be shown on my YouTube, so we can get personal with it. And I also do short readings for just like a £5. And so it does suit any budget. If you can't afford a big reading, but you want a quick overview, let me know, I'll help you out. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help me get my videos in front of people that actually enjoy them and not people that want to come and shout at me in my comments, then please do like and subscribe, or don't, I'm not your mum, but either way, you have yourself a magical week.